What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video. Where in this one, we're going to talk about something that we have talked about before, but the conversation continues to heat up. More news coming out around the NFL. So make sure if you enjoy the content, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe with notifications on as we sit here, start getting into this one, talking about, of course, Trey Hendrickson, the possibility of, hey, what about the Colts making a deal for him? And the reason that this is coming up is that there have been other reports, and I didn't want to drown us out with a bunch of Trey Hendrickson content, but there have been other reports that have come out about that situation, and now it's getting heated up because last night Jordan Schultz reported that Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase and T. Higgins told him that they have agreed to contract extensions with the team. Now, I'm told that both of these guys are tied to the same agent and the same agency. So, they were working on both of these deals simultaneously. Jamar Chase gets 4 years, 161 with 112 guaranteed, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history at the moment. And T. Higgins ends up getting 4 years, 115 with the first 2 years guaranteed, makes him the highest paid wide receiver 2 in NFL history. So these two taking up a lot of money. Now, I've already checked the different websites right over the cap Spo track. I've checked different places to try to see if there's an updated cap number. And right now, I think the full details of the contract waiting to come out, I assume, or they're waiting to get that information. However they get that information. And at the end of the day, I just wasn't able to end up finding like the updated cap number with both of these guys and what it's going to look like going forward, right? Like what does the cap look like in 2026 and 2027, right? That's what you want to look at because you're right. How much are the numbers going to adjust this year? I'm not really sure. Like I assume it would just be whatever their contracts are this year, and then boom, next season their other contracts start. So we'll see how that works out. But it just seems like the money that they've poured into it, like so before these deals, the money that they have this year is $26 million, roughly $26 million in cap space. And that's with Trey Hendrickson taking up, I believe, a cap number of like $19 million. So being able to give him an increase, like even if these deals do affect this year's number at all, like they still have some wiggle room there. But it's when you go forward, right? The money that they're allocating to 3 players on the team, right? And Joe Burrow wanted to make sure that obviously Chase and Higgins gets paid, but also he publicly advocated for Mike Gesicki to end up getting a contract. He ends up getting paid. And we have a situation where the Bengals have said, like, yeah, we're going to grant Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. And right now, edges are making a lot of money. Now, it did come out that, of course, he's going to look for more than $30 million. And I think that's to be expected. Bottom would be $30 million. But I expect Trey Hendrickson to be looking for a contract right in the neighborhood of $35 million, if I had to guess. And, $35 million a year. And that's going to be a huge number. But Braden Smith's contract restructure opened up quite a bit of space for the Colts to be able to use. And the Colts can, again, work some other things around to get the money to bring in Trey Hendrickson. Like the way it sits right now, we opened up just enough to be able to bring in Trey Hendrickson. So I think being able to take on his contract and not go negative, I think that's a big deal. I think being able to get a deal done for the future would obviously be the piece that really needs to happen. And then it comes down to what are they looking for in trade compensation. And of course, they're looking for a first-round pick. And there are people out there, or at least executives out there, that have already said, like, what the Bengals are looking for a player like Trey Hendrickson, somebody with his age, his contract, his position. Like they want more than what people are willing to give up, and it was, quote, ridiculous. So how will it all work? Of course, there's posturing, and the draft is still a little more than a month away. So there's plenty of time for the Bengals to sit here and try to get as much as they want. There's plenty of time for other teams to sit here and be like, hey, you know what, we're just gonna go to the draft. I think we'll relax on that, and we'll see where the Bengals come out on it. Now, it did come out earlier today, just a little while ago, before I started recording this. Diana Rossini, Jordan Schultz also kind of reporting the same thing. But Diane Orsini here said the sources, her sources say that Cincinnati is working to retain Trey Hendrickson and discussions are ongoing between the two sides. The Bengals are attempting to do what many in the league thought difficult and keep and pay all three of their stars. So they're gonna try. Of course they're gonna try. And of course they want everybody in the league to know, like, yeah, we're gonna try to re-sign them. But you just look at what they're doing, the money that they're giving out. Like, what do you expect the salary cap to get to? That's what I wonder. And I thought somebody over at Donovan over at Dolphin Syndicate brought up a good point where the Bengals owners, I'm pretty sure, are the only millionaires in the NFL, which of course they're probably pretty close to $1 billion. But even still, every other owner in the NFL, billionaires, right? And they're only getting richer. Whereas the Bengals, again, I believe, are millionaires and are the owners in the league with the least amount of money. So are they going to be able, as the salary cap continues to go, like, how are they going to be able to keep up? And how are they going to be able to pay Trey Hendrickson when you're paying Burrow all that money? You're paying Chase all that money. Higgins is getting all that money. Like, now, so you're going to have four guys that you pay on your roster. You have guys on the offensive line you need to pay, right? And need to make sure you keep your quarterback upright before you Andrew Luck him. And I don't understand how the Bengals get it done. I don't see really an avenue where it's smart for them to continue to do that. I thought getting a deal done with Chase and letting Higgins go would have been the route. If you wanted to keep Hendrickson, like, one of those receivers, I just felt like needed to go. Now, of course, I could be wrong, right? Bill Polian found a way during the Manning era where you had, Manning. He didn't pay the running backs, but he had Manning. He had the offensive line. He had a couple of receivers, right? Wayne and Harrison. Then you had Mathis and Freeney. You had Sanders back there, right? And of course, Gary Brackett. The other linebackers kind of switched out and changed out from time to time. Cornerbacks, of course, switched out and changed out every few years for us. But I guess, so there's an example out there in a way that I could see it getting done, one that we know very well. But I guess a little bit of wishful thinking also from my part, because when you look at, man, I think the Bengals are crazy to think that they might get a first-round pick. Now, Trey Hendrickson, I could see him getting even a third-round pick that could turn into a second-round pick based on playing time and production. I think that would be fine. Like, if we traded for him and it was a third-round pick that turns into a second-round pick, as long as he plays as long as he plays in 12 games and as long as he gets 10 sacks, right? If that's the baseline for it turning into a second-round pick, like, I will take that, because I think you can depend on Trey Hendrickson to be on the field and to get production. So at the end of the day, man, I'm still for it. Again, Braden Smith restructuring his contract opened up enough space to be able to take on that contract right now without going negative. So I think it'd be a really good move for the Colts to bring him in with what we're doing. Of course, there's connections to the Colts and Lou Anarumo, but you also have a connection to Charlie Partridge, who was with Trey Hendrickson at Florida Atlantic, right? Was one of his coaches at Florida Atlantic. So there's different connections throughout the team for Trey Hendrickson, and it would make a lot of sense for the Colts. I think for the Bengals it would make a lot of sense, since they want to pay their offense what they're paying them. But again, with the salary cap going up, maybe they do make it work. Maybe they just make a decision, pay him a bunch of money too, and then now they got pretty much their entire salary cap tied up into 4 guys. Maybe that's what they want to do. Who knows? A lot of things could happen. Of course, there are going to be other suitors too, but the Colts are one that a lot of people have connected Trey Hendrickson to, and I think it would make a lot of sense for both sides. So You let me know where you're at with this, with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins getting paid. Do you think it's inevitable that Trey Hendrickson goes? Do you think the Bengals would pay him? Do you think the Colts should trade for him? You let me know your thoughts on this topic down in the comment section. Again, if you enjoy the content, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have notifications on so you get notified anytime we drop any content on this channel. Of course, appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.